Ladies and gentlemen, every single day we wake up with a silent battle inside us. The battle between who we are and who we want to be. Too often, we delay our dreams, our passions, and even our happiness because we wait for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect version of ourselves. But perfection, my friends, is nothing but an illusion that steals our today. What truly matters is progress, the little steps we take daily, the quiet victories we celebrate privately, the growth that may not look grand but is shaping us into someone stronger, wiser, and braver. Today, I want you to shift your focus, to stop chasing perfection, and instead embrace progress as your daily mantra. Because when you choose progress, you choose freedom, resilience, and growth that no failure can destroy. Small steps create big changes. We have been taught to celebrate grand achievements, but we often forget to honor the tiny efforts that lead us there. The truth is, every major success you admire in others began with the smallest step, one decision, one action, one choice to move forward. Mountains are not climbed in a single bound. They are conquered step by step, breath by breath, sometimes painfully, sometimes slowly, but always through steady persistence. When you learn to value the small steps, you realize that progress is not only possible, it is inevitable. Perfection will often whisper that a small step is useless, that if you cannot do it all today, then it isn't worth doing. And that lie is what keeps so many people stuck, watching life pass by while waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. But progress tells you a different story. It tells you that even the smallest act has the power to shift your direction, to build momentum, and to start a ripple effect that can one day become a wave of change. One step may feel small, but it is never meaningless. It is a seed planted in the soil of tomorrow. Look at your own journey. You did not become who you are today in a single moment of transformation. It happened quietly, gradually, through countless small choices you made along the way. Every time you chose to try again after failure, every time you pushed forward when you felt weak, every time you learned something new, you were building yourself. Those small steps, when combined, created a version of you that yesterday did not know. That is the silent magic of progress. When you start to honor the little steps, you begin to see the beauty in the process. You realize that life is not about one giant victory, but about countless tiny victories that accumulate over time. The decision to show up even when tired. The courage to keep going even when no one is watching. The humility to start small when others are waiting to start big. These are the moments that build a life of resilience and strength. It is these hidden victories that become the pillars of greatness. So instead of waiting for the day you can leap, take the step you can manage today. Instead of waiting for perfection, embrace movement. The smallest step forward is infinitely more powerful than standing still in fear. And once you take that step, you will find it leads to another and then another until one day you look back and realize you have traveled farther than you ever imagined. That is the power of small steps. They create changes so profound, so life-altering, that you will wonder why you ever thought perfection was necessary in the first place. Progress honors effort, not flawlessness. And effort, when given daily, builds miracles in silence. Perfection is a trap. Progress is freedom. Perfection is one of the most dangerous illusions we face in life. It convinces us that unless everything is flawless, we are not worthy to begin, not worthy to try, not worthy to succeed. It tells us that if we fail, we have proven our weakness, and if we stumble, we have lost our value. Living with such beliefs is like carrying chains around your heart. You are trapped by an impossible standard that no one in the world can ever truly meet, and while you remain trapped, your dreams slowly suffocate in silence. But progress, unlike perfection, brings freedom. Progress does not demand that you do everything flawlessly. It simply asks you to do something. It asks you to show up, to take a step, to allow yourself to learn as you go. When you focus on progress, You free yourself from the burden of unrealistic expectations, and you begin to see growth in places you never thought possible. Freedom comes not from reaching some perfect destination, but from knowing that every day you are becoming better than yesterday. Think of all the people who never begin because they are waiting for everything to look perfect. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, the perfect feeling of confidence. But perfection never arrives, it only delays them until life itself passes by. Progress, however, teaches you that the perfect time is always now. The perfect version of yourself is the one willing to try, willing to learn, willing to step forward, even when fear is loud. That is freedom, the freedom to begin imperfectly but sincerely. Perfection silences authenticity. It forces you to hide your scars, your struggles, and your humanity because it convinces you that flaws are weaknesses. But progress celebrates those very flaws. It allows you to embrace your scars as proof of survival, your mistakes as proof of courage, and your imperfections as proof that you are alive and growing. Progress does not ask you to hide it, invites you to be real. And that authenticity is where true strength is born. When you let go of perfection, you finally allow yourself to breathe. You are no longer weighed down by the fear of not being enough. Instead, you are fueled by the hope of becoming better each day. This shift brings peace because you stop competing with a standard you can never reach and start competing only with yourself. And in that journey, you discover freedom not because you have arrived, but because you are moving, learning, and evolving. So let perfection remain what it always has been, an illusion. And let progress become your truth. Because progress does not imprison you, it sets you free to live, to grow, and to discover the strength that comes not from being flawless, but from being fearless enough to keep moving forward. Consistency builds confidence. Confidence is not a gift that falls from the sky. It is something we cultivate, something we build with our own hands and our own efforts. Many people wait to feel confident before they act, believing that once they have enough courage, then they will start. But confidence does not appear before action, it is born out of action. Every time you show up, even with trembling hands and a racing heart, you are teaching yourself that you are capable. Every small act of consistency is a brick laid in the foundation of self-belief. And over time, those bricks create a fortress of unshakable confidence. When you choose progress over perfection, you begin to understand the quiet power of showing up daily. You realize that it doesn't matter if the step you take is small or if the effort feels imperfect. What matters is that you showed up. Consistency builds a rhythm inside you, a discipline that whispers, you can trust yourself. And when you can trust yourself to keep going, you naturally grow in confidence. That is how progress works. It is not loud, but it is steady. And with steadiness comes strength. Think of an artist painting a masterpiece. The first brushstroke looks ordinary. The second doesn't change much. And even after days of painting, the canvas looks unfinished. But with each stroke, the picture becomes clearer, and soon the masterpiece reveals itself. Confidence is built the same way, one consistent stroke of progress after another until you look back and realize how far you've come. Without consistency, there is no confidence. Without progress, there is no masterpiece. Perfection, on the other hand, demands instant results. It tells you that unless you get it right the first time, you are a failure. It convinces you that anything less than flawless is not worth doing. And so, you stop trying, and with that, your confidence never grows. But when you release the weight of perfection and allow yourself to move imperfectly, you unlock the gift of consistency, and that gift becomes your source of courage. Consistency also teaches you patience. It reminds you that true strength is not in rushing, but in enduring. It is in waking up day after day, doing what you can, even when it doesn't feel like enough. Slowly, without even noticing, you become stronger, braver, and more confident than you ever thought you could be. This is the quiet miracle of consistency. It transforms not just what you do, but who you believe yourself to be. So if you want to feel confident, do not wait for it. Do not wait for perfection. Begin with progress, repeat it daily, and watch how consistency molds you into someone who not only believes in their abilities but also trusts their own journey. That trust is the true definition of confidence. Failure becomes your teacher, not your enemy. Failure is a word that frightens so many people, but in truth, failure is one of the greatest teachers life has given us. When you chase perfection, failure feels like proof that you are not enough. It feels like the end of the road, like a final judgment that you have failed permanently. But when you shift your focus to progress, failure takes on a new meaning. It becomes feedback, a teacher and a guide showing you where growth is possible. Suddenly, failure is no longer the enemy. It is part of the journey. Think about a child learning to walk. That child falls countless times, stumbles, loses balance, and sometimes cries in frustration. But never once do we say that the child is a failure. We celebrate the attempt, we cheer for the effort, and we understand that every fall is a step closer to walking. Why, then, do we as adults treat our own failures differently? Why do we shame ourselves for falling when, in truth, every fall is proof that we are trying, proof that we are progressing? Progress welcomes failure because it understands that growth cannot exist without it. Every setback carries within it a lesson. Sometimes the lesson is about patience, sometimes about resilience, sometimes about strategy, and sometimes about trust. Perfection tries to erase failure, but progress embraces it, knowing that every misstep is shaping us into someone stronger. Failure becomes the fire in which courage is forged, and without it, we would never discover our full potential. Failure also teaches humility. It reminds us that we are not invincible, that we have more to learn, more to grow, and more to understand. But rather than diminishing us, this humility strengthens us. It softens our hearts, sharpens our minds, and opens our spirits to new possibilities. Failure strips away arrogance and replaces it with wisdom. And wisdom is one of the most powerful forms of progress we can ever achieve. When you stop fearing failure, you stop living in hesitation. You stop avoiding risks, and you stop hiding from opportunities. Instead, you begin to move forward with courage, knowing that even if you stumble, you will rise again. And each time you rise higher, with more strength than before. That is the gift failure gives when seen through the lens of progress. It doesn't break you, it builds you. So let failure walk beside you, not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Let it show you the paths you had not considered. Let it sharpen your resilience, and let it remind you that every setback is temporary. When your focus is on progress, failure loses its power to destroy you and instead becomes the reason you grow into someone unstoppable. Progress leads to inner peace. Perfection is exhausting. It keeps you on edge, constantly chasing a standard that keeps moving further away no matter how hard you try. It whispers that nothing you do is ever enough. And so you live in anxiety, constantly dissatisfied with yourself. But progress brings something that perfection can never offer: peace. Progress says you are enough because you are moving, you are growing, you are trying. And that realization brings a calmness that perfection will never give. When you measure your life by progress, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop looking at their highlight reels and measuring your worth against their achievements. Instead, you look inward and ask only one question: am I better than I was yesterday? This shift changes everything because it removes competition and replaces it with compassion. You begin to treat yourself with kindness, and in that kindness, peace is born. Progress also teaches you to celebrate small victories. You begin to appreciate the little things: getting out of bed on difficult mornings, speaking up when your voice shakes, showing up even when your heart is heavy. These moments may seem small, but they matter. And when you start to honor them, you start to live with gratitude. Gratitude creates joy, and joy creates peace. That is the natural rhythm of progress. It guides you gently into a place of inner calm. Perfection demands constant approval from others, but progress teaches you to seek approval only from yourself. You realize that you don't need to meet an impossible standard set by the world. All you need to do is keep growing at your own pace. This freedom from external validation is one of the purest forms of peace you can ever experience because it allows you to live authentically without pressure or fear. There is also a deep serenity that comes when you accept yourself as a work in progress. You no longer punish yourself for not being flawless, but instead you honor yourself for being human. You allow yourself to grow slowly, gently, without force, and in that acceptance, you find a peace that feels like coming home. Progress does not rush you, it embraces you, reminding you that who you are becoming is enough. So if you want peace, do not chase perfection, chase progress. Let every step forward, no matter how small, remind you that you are on the right path. Let progress teach you patience, gratitude, and self-compassion. Because at the end of the day, peace is not found in being perfect. It is found in knowing that you are moving forward, becoming better, and embracing the journey with an open heart. In the end, life is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to keep moving forward. Each day you choose progress. You are choosing courage over fear, freedom over limitation, and peace over anxiety. You are choosing to honor the small steps that shape you, to release the trap of perfection that holds you back, to build confidence through consistency, to embrace failure as your teacher, and to discover the serenity that comes when you accept yourself as a beautiful work in progress. Progress does not happen in leaps and bounds, it happens in the quiet persistence of daily effort. And when you learn to celebrate that, you begin to live a life of growth rather than a life of hesitation. So as you walk out into the world tomorrow, do not wait for the stars to align. Do not wait for the perfect version of yourself to arrive. Begin now. Begin with what you have. Begin with the courage to take just one more step forward. And as you keep moving, you will see how progress transforms not only your path, but your entire spirit. One day you will look back, not with regret for chasing perfection, but with gratitude for every imperfect step you took. Because those steps will have led you to a future more powerful than you ever dreamed. Focus on progress daily, and you will discover that perfection was never the goal. Becoming your truest, strongest self always was.